Guys have seen this, but in the Empire Strikes Back, behind the scenes footage, in
Mhm.
like the concept art for the AT-ATs, originally they were going to be able to, would have the ability to jump.
No, no, no.
What can you imagine?
Yeah, it was like they're originally going to have the rebels dig big trenches that the walkers have to jump across. But then when they made the
Can you
models, they
imagine?
realized they were stupid, so they decided not to.
It's like bouncing like a rabbit.
Yeah,
I can just imagine
Boing, boing.
George Lucas being really annoyed that they didn't reach the final cut. Like, oh, I really like that idea.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Rewatch podcast. My name is Samuel,
And I'm Jaden.
and today we have a very special guest joining us, and that is Nick. Welcome to the show, Nick.
hello guys.
Nice to meet you.
So this is a podcast where we rewatch classic or current films every week and then decide whether they deserve a rewatch from you. A like on this video would be most appreciated. Before we begin, you can subscribe if you'd like. If you're tuning in on Spotify or another major podcast app, you can find us on YouTube by searching The Rewatch. So, Jaden, what did we watch this week?
We watched the next chronological Star Wars film, so Rogue One.
Yes. So let's go around the room. What were our thoughts going into this film when we first saw it? Because obviously, chronologically speaking, in our lifetimes, the Force Awakens had come out, and I don't know about you boys, but I was pretty positive about that movie for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then going into Rogue One, I was quite excited. So Nick, I know, I recall we probably went to see this together at least twice.
Yeah, I do believe so.
Yeah, and I think this film probably holds the record for me as like the most times I've gone to the cinema to see a movie. I
Really?
think I've probably gone to see this. Probably went to see this movie probably like at least 5 times in the cinema.
Holy
It's like-
moly, man.
that's my
Yeah,
record.
you were
That's
just
like unhealthy.
you were just crazy for that movie. I think that was before you had a job, so you just stole your parents' money.
Yes, yeah, probably, probably.
You spent like $50 to watch the movie.
Yes, but I got the Blu-ray now, so it's all good. But yeah, so Nick, when you first watched the movie, did you come out thinking it was like, the best Star Wars movie you'd ever seen? Like, was it your favorite for a period or anything like that?
Yeah, it was definitely one of my favorite movies. I think that mainly has to do with the Darth Vader scene. I think that's what really got a lot of people at the end.
Yeah,
The last thing in your mind is just that, you actually get to see Darth Vader in I guess combat, because you've never really seen that before.
It's been so long, right? I mean, the last time we saw him, absolutely shredding stuff would have been Return of the Jedi, but that was against Luke, so
Yeah, you never really seen him
so
take
long.
on, I guess, rebel soldiers, unless you've played some of the games.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And Jaden, what were your thoughts coming out of the film?
You're gonna hate me for this, but the first time I watched it, I was not too big of a fan of Star Wars, and I didn't really know too much about the lore and stuff, and I hadn't really watched the original trilogy thoroughly. So when this film came through, I was like, wait, I don't even understand this. And to me, Star Wars was about lightsabers, and then we only see one lightsaber, so I was really disappointed. And for a long time, this was my least favorite Star Wars film, because keep in mind, I think it had only been Rogue One, prequels, original trilogy, and maybe The Force Awakens come out at this point.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was my least favorite film, and then switching to a few years ago when I really became infatuated with Star Wars and what it's all about. I found the connection between this film and then A New Hope, and just makes it so much better when you understand it and when you really, really appreciate Star Wars.
For sure, for sure. So, story overview for this film. So the daughter of an Imperial scientist joins the Rebel Alliance in a risky move to steal the plans for the Death Star. Obviously, the first Star Wars movie ever created A New Hope in the I believe it's the in the opening crawl, right? It says, you know, some rebels have captured the plans for the Death Star, or
Yeah.
to exploit its only weakness. So this film sort of, fills in that gap. And you know what? I think it's a welcome addition to Star Wars lore, personally. But yeah, so film was nominated for 2 Oscars. Just want to give that a quick mention. It didn't win them both, so it was nominated for sound mixing, but it lost to Hacksaw Ridge.
Sam's happy about that.
It's like my favorite war movie, so I'll take that. And visual effects, it was nominated for that as well, but it lost to The Jungle Book. So that's a shame.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on The Jungle Book, Nick?
Appealing. Like, I
Yeah, it's
understand why it was nominated, but compared to Rogue One it's so flawless, except for one certain character.
Oh, yes.
I'm trying to think.
Everything, like, you compare that to other Star Wars films, it's just, just flawless compared to them.
I just remembered you talking.
Except for that certain person. Blind put it down.
That's funny.
So characters for this one, the main character, we get another female protagonist, but that's not a bad thing, guys, because feminism. And so Jyn Erso is our main character, portrayed by Felicity Jones, who is in The Theory of Everything, but I think most importantly is in The Amazing Spider-Man 2 as Black Cat.
Wait, what?
But Black Cat's in The Amazing Spider-Man 2?
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys noticed, but her character in The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is named Felicia, which is Black Cat's name.
Oh.
And she looks exactly like her.
She was in The Amazing Spider-Man 2?
Yeah. Look her up.
I never paid that much attention to that movie.
I've watched the film, but I don't remember that at all.
Yeah.
Well, they don't specifically say you're the Black Cat, but her name is Felicia and Black Cat's name is Felicia. So. So yeah. So anyway, Nick, what were your thoughts with Jyn Erso as the main protagonist? Did you? I don't know, how does she rank in your Star Wars characters list?
Oh, she's not. I wouldn't say she's up there with Obi-Wan Kenobi or Luke Skywalker or anything, but I feel her character arc and everything about in just her just resenting the rebellion because just all the pain that she's suffered from it and all the abandonment she's just I think that, and then her end resolve to then give her life so the rebellion can have a chance to take on the weapon her father built I thought that was pretty powerful. I think it could have been developed a bit more, but I think her relationship with Andor is the strongest part of the film, and how they build at the start. They just straight up don't trust each other, but then they got to learn to gain each other's trust.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Jaden, thoughts?
In terms of
Jyn
Erso, yeah. No, I think she was done actually really well compared to, Rey or something. She feels like a female character that's done right, and you just forget that they're a female character, right? You're not watching the film because it's
feminism. They're just a character. Yeah.
And what I did like about this story and this character in particular is that we get a perspective of empire come rebellion. A lot of the time it's just you start rebel and you fight the empire, right? And I feel like having a character from the empire's perspective, I think it was a really, really clever idea to do in this situation, because they had this tiny little format to work from, right? The rebels steal the Death Star plans, and then Luke blows up the Death Star, right? So, yeah, they had to have a rebel, steal the Death Star plans, but I think it was quite clever how they flipped it, and then they had an Empire turned rebel get the Death Star plans, which was interesting to see.
And so, yeah, for me, I think she's borderline average sometimes, but I definitely like her more towards the end. She gives a very cringe speech to the rebellion at one stage.
To Rogue One.
Yes, rebellions are built on hope. But yeah, so Cassian Andor is probably like the second main character in the film, and more recently come to given a bit of publicity because obviously there's a Disney Plus show in the works. And I was speaking to Nick before this, and he seems quite excited for this. But to be honest, I couldn't care less. but Nick,
I didn't say
why
I was excited. I just said that the film has made me a bit. After rewatching Rogue One, has made me a bit more interested to see what they do with the character.
Yeah,
I didn't hate the character. Right? I just found it like an interesting choice for a Disney Plus show. And there's other characters in here that I probably would have preferred to have a show on, but we'll get into that later on.
Yeah, because we get a bit of his backstory, like he says, like, I was in this fight since I was 6 years old, and, I've done terrible things and stuff. So, maybe, premise for, a show that shows the dark side of the rebellion, if you know what I mean, like the dirty things that the rebellion have done, because sometimes the good guys have to do bad things to make the bad guys pay. It's like a Harvey Specter quote or something, but yeah, so it'd be cool to see that. Want to give another shout out to Ben Mendelsohn, so Orson Krennic, my favorite character in the film, I think, and I wanted to give a shout out to him because he's actually Australian. So big shout out to Ben Mendelsohn because I think he was the best part of the film. But Nick, what were your thoughts on Orson Krennic, the director Krennic?
Director Krennic. Well, he was. When I first watched through, I generally found him annoying on my first watch. I don't know, not sure why, but I just found him quite pathetic. But upon my rewatch, I've just noticed how he's just how his actor just makes him so unstable. He's able to be manipulated, and I've noticed this on my rewatch that Tarkin manipulates him to test the weapon, which then falls him into even more hot water with Vader and Palpatine, thus allowing for Tarkin to then gain control of the Death Star.
Yeah, he was good. That was cool. I mean, CGI Tarkin, he was used a lot, wasn't he?
Yeah, a little bit too much.
Guess that's a conversation for a bit later on. But Jaden, thoughts on Orson Krennic?
Oh no, I think he was great. Definitely one of my favorite characters in this film. I just think the way that his character was built was just fantastic. I mean, he was kind of like a forgotten son, right? He was shunned upon by both Grand Moff Tarkin, and probably even Vader and Palpatine. And then eventually he dies to his own weapon, which I think was kind of ironic. Ironic. No, I think he was a really great character and portrayed by a really good actor. I mean, Ben Mendelsohn is just great. And the way that he kind of put forward his emotions in the character, I think it was just great.
For sure. So, I mean, we've gone through two members of the main crew, but we also have Chirrut Îmwe. He's the Jedi who doesn't have a lightsaber. And we also have, I think, Baze
Mortis.
Yeah. And to be honest, out of those two, I like Baze more. And I think, spoiler alert, but I think Baze's death scene is actually probably one of the best in the film. Because how he goes on that sort of rampage after his friend dies. It's really quite sad. And then he sort of just like is willing to die because Chirrut Îmwe has died. But I don't know, lads. What were your thoughts on the remaining two of the team? I guess also Chirrut Îmwe and Baze. Nick, do you want to go first?
Sure. I think their character dynamic is quite strong, especially from the start. How is it? Shiro, was it? Is it?
Yeah, sure.
Shiro, that's it. I think his one thing I've noticed with the film, its main message appears to you need to trust your friends and your teammates, and he trusts in the Force, but his friend, I don't know why I can't think of his name now.
Yeah, Baze something.
Baze, and he has no trust in the Force because
Yeah.
He's the one who protects him, but Churro always trusts that Baze will be there to help him.
Mm.
You see that a lot throughout the film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a bit of a dynamic there.
And
Yeah,
then
it was like
Baze,
it reminded me a bit of. Oh, sorry, it reminded me a bit of Han Solo, because Han Solo's like, the Force is just, it's a load of crap.
Yeah.
And then you have Luke Skywalker being like, I have the Force, like my father before me. Yeah, but yeah, go on. Nick.
You completely butchered that quote there. We'll move on.
Yeah, whatever.
But yeah, and then Baze learns to, after Churro's death, he then trusts in the Force, which then allows him to wreck the Death Troopers that all of a sudden forget to aim. And he dies from it. I think that was probably one of the more impactful deaths, because it didn't really come out of, like, it didn't seem just to come out of nowhere as soon as their job was done.
Yeah.
Unlike with the pilot, it's pretty much as soon as he got that transmission through, grenade into his ship.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, you don't have to be in this movie anymore. Goodbye. Boom.
Let's save ourselves some money.
This will be your last day on set, my friend.
Just catch this grenade and don't try and throw it back or anything.
Yeah,
it's funny.
Yeah, that's a negative, actually. Like, a lot of people are just like very willing to die. Like, they don't even try and run away from these grenades. They're just like,
I think he would have had time to they should have at least showed him, like, at least pick it up and try to throw it and, like, blow up in his hand.
Yeah.
He had time to grab it at least.
He kind of just looked at it.
Just stared at it and then bang.
It's sort of like if there was, like if the film was rated a bit higher, you can imagine he would have been like,
Yeah.
If it was Samuel Jackson, that definitely would have been it.
Yeah. Jaden, thoughts on those two?
I actually wrote down that Chirrut Enway was probably one of my favorite characters in the film, and I don't know, I just found like his character to be really different from what we've seen in Star Wars so far, right? A lot of the Jedi that you see have lightsabers, like you said, Sam, and this Chirrut just has a staff, and I don't know, I found that really interesting, and the fact that he's blind but he uses the Force is just such a unique idea for a character. And I don't know, I didn't really want to see him with a lightsaber, because I feel like him and his staff is just like an iconic combo.
And he like never directly uses the Force. Like, he never anyone, he just uses it as like a sense.
Yeah. It's basically the Force is his eyes to look around and function as a normal human being. I don't know, I felt his character was just really unique, and I actually liked him more than Baze Morbus, which is like his counterpart. I don't know, I just felt like Baze was more so like the like an addition to Chirrut, and he was just always like his right hand man. But no, I do prefer Baze Morbus's death scene over Chirrut's death scene. I don't know, I felt like it had more impact to it, like you guys said. But yeah, I don't know, I just really like those characters, and I feel like I said before, I feel like they probably should have made a TV show on these two, because I feel like it could have been really, really cool.
Oh, that would have been good,
right? Yeah.
Jeddah.
We could have seen how Chirrut like lost his eyesight, or if he used to have a lightsaber, and then we could have seen how Baze Morbus met him instead of this Andor TV show. But I'm equally excited.
Still get that.
Yeah, we could, but if we were to get it in the Andor series, I feel like it's very improbable, because Andor and Chirrut and Maze, Baze or Maze, I think it's Baze, did meet in this film, so we wouldn't get it if it was a prequel, because obviously everyone dies in this film.
Oh yeah.
Spoilers. Anyway,
sorry.
No, I think you said it last week.
Their death scene so far, so it's not much of a spoiler.
Yeah. Well, if you haven't seen this movie, it's your fault.
Yes.
So this film, I don't know if you guys like knew much about this, but before the film came out, it was sort of like marketed to Star Wars fans as like a war film. And, obviously, Star Wars, of course there's going to be war, but there was going to be like an emphasis on the tragedy of war this time. And I thought it was just funny that the director they bring in to do a gritty war film is the director that did Godzilla. Yeah, so Gareth Edwards has directed this, and the only other major film he's done is 2014's Godzilla. So, take from that what you will. Interesting choice for a
Yeah,
gritty
He's a
war
great
film.
visual director, but I can't say he's got experience in that kind of sort of war-esque feel.
Yeah, fair enough. I do agree. I think this film does look pretty great. So, general thoughts, pros and cons. I think for me, the pros definitely, as what we just said there, the film looks great. I think the CGI and the effects are really cool, and obviously, this was nominated for sound mixing, so got to give credit to the special effects, the noises, and the music as well is quite good, but not. I wouldn't say it's anywhere near the top of the best Star Wars music, but for you guys, what were your sort of like your general pros and cons of the film on rewatch?
I'm just trying to think of what I didn't like about this film. I feel like a lot of the death scenes were probably a bit too fast paced, and they kind of just brushed over them. I feel like they could have been a bit more impactful. Characters like Grand Moff Tarkin, CGI Moff Tarkin, kind of took you out of the film. I mean, realistically, they didn't really need him in this film. They just wanted to bring him back. And yeah, it just doesn't look too good.
Yeah. They should have just kept him as a reflection in the window. That's what I thought they were going to do on my first watch.
That would have been good, yeah.
And then I think for the rest of his scenes, they probably could have implemented Vader and then
Yeah.
have Vader say, "Oh, Tarkin will be taking control of Death Star. You don't. You're too much of a loose cannon with it." Yada yada yada.
But yeah, that's all my negatives really from this film. I could probably think of more, but they're like the big ones.
Yeah. So Nick, any pros and cons that you want to say generally before we sort of dive into it a bit more?
Pros again, I'll say the visuals, like the environments and everything, just generally looks like they feel like they could be real planets and stuff.
Yeah.
Everything generally looks like, and like the ships, like the Star Destroyers at the end of the film when they're crashing into each other, they generally like just seeing them collide. It looks so. They look like they'd be models essentially. For cons, I'd say one of the main criticisms of this film is people claim it has too much fan service, which to a degree I agree with. There are some points where it does take you out of the film a bit, like with I think R2D2 and C3PO just showing up on the little base randomly.
Yeah.
And then what do they just get off the base and hop on the One Calamari cruiser or something?
Yeah, the Jawa cruiser or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you've got the two guys which Luke and have the fight in the bar, and Anakin wallops that dude's arm off. You see them two on Jeddah.
Really?
They appear on Jeddah, and old mate's like, "You just watch yourself" to Jin.
Oh yeah.
I felt that.
Oh wow.
Well, what do they just leave in that like 10 minutes before Jeddah blew up? I felt that was a bit forced because it didn't really fit the scene too well.
I never picked up on
that. Wait,
Jaden,
what was that?
When they're on Jeddah, and Jin and Andor are both walking together, they bump into the two fellas that Luke and Obi-Wan meet on Tatooine in the bar. Who's
Dr. Evazan, yeah.
Yeah, who Obi-Wan cuts his arm off. And they say the same line, just watch yourself.
Oh.
Never saw that.
That is a bit fan servicey, isn't it?
Yeah,
I didn't pick up on that though.
I noticed that on my first one, and it sort of pulled me out of it. I was like, wait, why are they here?
So this was set before A New Hope. So they must have escaped.
Somehow. They decided to leave even though there was Imperial ships everywhere. And there was only like a small window where they could have gotten out.
That's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, well, doesn't that planet get like destroyed?
Yeah.
Just like bang.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. I never noticed that because obviously, this film is set like a few days before A New Hope, and it ties in very nicely.
One desert planet to another.
Yeah, maybe that's just their thing. Maybe they like desert planets.
It's not like we're dealing with a galaxy or something.
Yeah, not like we're dealing with a galaxy of infinite planets, and that is a bit Any other cons from you, Nick?
Not really. I think for the rest of the film. The film's pretty solid. I do feel that why can't I think of his name? Terrible names of characters.
Which one are you thinking of?
The fella who they meet on Jakku.
Jakku. Or you mean Jeddah?
Not Jakku,
Jeddah.
Jeddah. They're all the same. They're all desert.
Chirrut or
no.
Baze Morbus?
No, the guy who's in charge of the terrorist group. I can't think of his name.
Oh, Saw Gerrera.
Saw Gerrera.
Yeah.
Because he was a pretty big character in Clone Wars and in Rebels, Star Wars Rebels. And the trailers made him out to be a lot more of an impactful character, but and the whole film is what the first half of the film makes him out that he's going to be a big impact.
Yeah.
On it all, but then he just has very little impact on. They don't even get the information on where Jin's father is from him. They get it from the pilot.
I didn't really like his character either, to be honest.
Yeah, he's a lot better in the shows, but then they just underused him and they just pretty much just there for. And his relationship with Jin wasn't very fleshed out at all.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Captain Phasma situation or a Snake situation, yeah.
But I'm pretty sure he still has more screen time than Captain Phasma does in her too.
Oh, that's horrific.
Yeah. Saw Gerrera, I felt like, again, he was just well, guess I'm going to die today. That's fine. He was Jin was aren't you going to come with us and, live to see another day and fight your cause? He's no, I guess I'll die.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it was great when, he was standing, at the balcony and he was, watching the land tsunami.
Him.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That was a cool
I feel
scene.
that was, the only reason why I think he was in the movie. Just to have a cool death scene. But regardless, so let's dive a bit into a bit of the plot here. So I guess we'll go from the beginning and we'll just jump through things. And if you guys have any notes that I skip over or anything, just feel free to interject wherever. But opening scene. I mean, the opening shot of this movie is beautiful with the the Saturn
the rings, the ship flying across the rings.
Yeah, it looks really really good. And that opening scene, where Krennic comes to, kill Galen Erso or kill his wife and take his child or whatever, I feel like is a really good scene. And the Death Troopers, lads. I mean, what do we think of the Death Troopers?
Oh.
Death Troopers, I think, are probably one of the coolest characters.
They're just little way they talk.
Definitely the coolest. Would you call them a clone? No, definitely the coolest.
They're just troopers.
Troopers. Definitely the coolest trooper in Star Wars lore. Probably second would probably be the Sith Troopers from The Rise of Skywalker.
No, I wouldn't say that.
You didn't see the Sith Troopers for 10 seconds.
So I know, they're so cool.
Yeah, but I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. Why would you make your whole fleet bright red so the enemy can see them? But,
you make yourself just bright red, go fight in the snow, see how that goes for you. They're just going to go back to Hoth and they'll be easy targets. That's all the rebels have to do.
It's really being sniped across from. Yeah, it's funny. But I wrote down Stardust. Right, it's what Jin's nickname is.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a bit of a weird nickname to call your child, isn't it? Stardust. But whatever. I guess Star Wars got to have some starry, spacey stuff. I guess.
I think it's a bit of a nod to the Death Star blowing up because the star turns into dust.
Okay. Fair. We get some good memes in this opening scene. We get farming. Really, a man of your talents. Yes, it's a good meme, and we also get. I love the line where Galen Erso's I've been so lonely ever since my wife died, and Krennic's Krennic just sees straight through him. She's oh no, oh my condolences, and then his wife appears, and he's oh look, here's Lyra back from the dead. It's a miracle.
Yeah.
I feel like that scene was quite well done, but any thoughts on the opening scene, guys?
You, Nick?
Oh yeah. I thought the scene was a really good start. One thing I do like is how they didn't have a opening crawl. I felt as though the opening crawl, I guess it feels like it should, now it definitely feels like it should be something that's only for the main films.
Yeah, yeah.
That's I guess
Fair
that's
enough.
also a good way for the audience to tell if this is like one of the main ones or just like a little spin-off.
Hmm.
Because the film doesn't really need it. It's a simple premise that
Yeah,
it
for
sorts
sure.
it out on its own, so it doesn't need it.
Mm.
But yeah, I think everything else I would say has already been said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any thoughts, Jaden?
No, I completely agree with the title crawl thing. It's only been done in the 9 Skywalker Saga films. So it'll be interesting.
Only the 9.
Only the 9. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they keep on doing that, and when they explore the High Republic era and all that. And even with the new film they're bringing out, Rogue Squadron or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that will be interesting. No, I really like how it looks at the start of the film. I think it's just a beautiful setting. It looks like it's set somewhere in Iceland with their black beaches.
Yeah.
Yeah, but one thing we do get at the start of the film, which a lot of Star Wars films do, I think it's all of them but Solo, is we get a planet and then a ship going over a planet, and that starts at every single Star Wars film. If you didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we get whatever the planet they're on, and then we get Director Krennic's little cruiser or whatever it is. So they're the planet and the ship.
No, it's cool. It's cool. And I will say when we do get a title screen in the film. Yeah, just a little like Rogue One, a Star Wars story pops up, and the music that comes on when that title screen is there is absolutely awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I got goosebumps watching, and I've seen this movie how many times? Like so many times, but
too many times.
Probably, but I don't know if do you guys have any like specific thoughts about the music, like any sort of, generally speaking, like, did you think the music was up to the level of, say, John Williams doing, because it's not by John Williams, it's by our boy Michael G.
Michael G.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The music in the score of the film uses a lot of John Williams in it, like the main Rebel theme, Vader's theme, all that kind of stuff. But what it adds to what he did on his own original stuff, I thought was really good. Obviously, Jyn Erso's theme, the whole like Rogue One like main sort of thing, and then you got the music for when you got the final like sort of music just before Vader's theme when the Scarif gets blown up by the Death Star as the wave is coming towards them. It's just this like building sort of like the theme just goes up and then it cuts off as it kills Jyn and Andor.
Yeah.
Then it cuts to, of course, Vader going up to the Mon Calamari ship, and then we get a bunch of people getting cut in half.
Yeah.
Yeah, love that. Any thoughts on the music generally, Jaden? Obviously, we'll touch on the music segment a bit later, but
look, I think John Williams' scoring is probably more iconic, and that's just because he's made 9 films, and he's scored every single one of them. And then again, you've got more iconic themes from him. The Force theme, you just hear it everywhere. But no, I think Michael G's. I think his work on this film is just as good. It feels like a John Williams theme, which it should, because it's like slot right in between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, so it should feel like a John Williams theme. And yeah, like you guys said, I think the Vader Imperial March at the end was great, probably the standout for me. And then also, the classic Rogue One theme, which I think is the title screen, was also really good.
One negative from the start of this film, I think a lot of people said when they first watched it, was at the start, probably like the first 40 minutes, there's so many jumps to different sort of planets, and there's lots of cuts to different parts of the galaxy and different people, and the film's a bit of a mess at the start. Sort of like we're on this planet for 5 minutes, and then we're on this planet, and then we're back to that planet, and we're sort of jumping around all over the place. But what I will say though is one of the planets is like 2 asteroids that are like stuck together by a skyscraper.
Yeah, it's like a city between the asteroids.
Yeah, it looks so cool. It looks like something that's straight out of the prequels, to be honest.
To be honest, to me, it looked like it's something out of like Guardians of the Galaxy or something.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
It felt like that
So
that like city that's in like that giant head.
That trading outpost in the
and then you got I think the prison as well sort of had that kind of a look to it.
yeah.
yeah, so the planet that I was talking about is called the Ring of Catherine. I think it's where we first see Cassian Andor.
Yeah, and he
I
ships
just
that dude.
he just like murders one of his friends, but you know, whatever.
Rebels will be rebels
Yes, rebels don't really have any, you know,
for the
have any.
rebellion.
Oh no, it's definitely this film definitely portrays the rebels as terrorists, because if you think about it, in the original trilogy, the rebels are terrorists. Like there, you have like like, you know, no matter what you think of the Empire, they're a stable governing force, right? And then here comes something to come like blow it all up. It's like,
Yeah.
One thing with the rebellion, they're not like quite terrorists because they don't target like civilians. They only target Imperials. Unlike I can't think of his name again.
who's Saul Guerrero?
Yeah, Saul Guerrero. He's portrayed as more like a terrorist, especially in like the Clone Wars and Rebels. He does a lot more bombings and that kind of stuff.
Oh, okay.
Like that's why he broke off from the rebellion, because he believed that their means of, I guess, warfare was not going to win the war.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I'm pretty sure there was that one episode where Saul Guerrero and his sister blew up some sort of Imperial outpost or something.
It was separate. It was in the Clone Wars. It was like a separatist.
Yeah, it was the separatists. That's right. Yeah.
And Ahsoka was like against it, and then they went and did it anyway.
Yeah.
It's like,
well, look at you guys go.
Because the Republic didn't want to associate with terrorists or something.
Wow, that's interesting. I love that Clone Wars info there, because I would have completely forgotten. I can't even remember Saul Guerrero in the Clone Wars, to be honest. I watched the whole thing, so well.
If you search it up and you see him, you'll remember him.
See who his name doesn't get said a whole lot. He just gets referred to as Saul, I believe.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So Jyn Erso, we're first introduced to her in a prison camp. She's been imprisoned by Imperials, which I think is cool, you know, sets up a bit of world building. You know, the Imperials, you know, they've got their own prisons and there's stormtroopers outside. It looks pretty cool. But we never really explained why Jyn Erso is actually in that prison camp. So I don't know, like, are we just supposed to guess that, you know, she, I don't know, shot a stormtrooper or something, and, you know, she's been imprisoned or something? Like, what did you guys think happened there?
Well, at one point in the film, and it might have actually been shown in the trailer, we do get a like a backstory of Jyn Erso, and one of the rebel soldiers says something like defrauding Imperial notices,
and like
basically,
assault,
all of the things she's done wrong. So it must have been one of them.
Okay.
So I think it might have been stuff she did for Saul Guerrero, and then when Saul left her, the Empire then eventually was able to capture.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, cool. Well, you know, thank God I have you guys, because I was like, why is she in prison? I don't know, like, we never told.
You've watched this film like 7 times, Sam. I'm disappointed. I've watched it like twice.
If anybody should know it, it's me. But oh well. So K2SO, introduction to him. Congratulations, you're being rescued. Please do not resist.
I love this character.
Yeah, I hope
that comes as a surprise to me, Jaden, because
I know what you're gonna say. Yeah,
you said on Solo, and I think, you know, this is a point that, you know, perhaps like Nick can see. We'll see like what Nick thinks of this, but a lot of Disney Star Wars, they have like a sarcastic droid that's like supposed to be like a rip-off of C-3PO to try and make the little kids laugh in the theater. So I don't know, does K2SO work for you guys? Like as a funny comic relief sort of thing?
Yeah, I think he actually does, and that's probably mainly because the lines that his character actually have are actually like funny. Like a lot of the other droids are just, you know, below standard humor. I feel like some of the lines that K2SO delivers are just for some reason they're just really funny.
Like with C-3PO, he's a lot more. His dialogue makes him seem a lot more clueless.
Yeah.
I guess. I guess I can't remember her name from Solo, but she was generally just really
Level 3.
obnoxious and loud.
Yeah.
Like she didn't really have very good comical timing. But K2SO, like when Andor tells him he should have stayed on the ship, and then he was like, there's a lot of explosions for people blending in.
Mm.
And he just grabs a grenade and chucks it at a bunch of stormtroopers.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. I should just stay on the ship.
Yeah, no, that was good. I liked when Jin shot a guy that looked a droid that looked just like him, and he's like, "Did you know that wasn't me?" That was my favorite moment, I think, of the character.
I mean, she could have noticed if she had paid attention to the stripes. The stripes on the arms were a slightly different color, but she didn't.
Yeah. But I love he was just like standing there. He was just like, "Did you know that wasn't me?" Just like so shocked. But yeah. Yeah, I mean, K2SO is definitely like one of the better droids, but it doesn't come close to C3PO.
I feel like he actually does stuff as well. Like he's actually built to fight.
Yeah. He's actually got a role, doesn't he?
Yeah. He feels like an actual character. He's not just
someone
comic relief.
Yeah. Or someone to like just say exposition or to
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. No, I think he works.
Fighting off the stormtroopers to keep Andor and Jin safe when they're in the vault.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys noticed, but K2SO is a bit of a snitch as well. Like, do you remember like in the rainy planet where they go after Galen Erso, Jin Erso sort of like putting it together that Andor's gonna try and kill her dad, and K2SO is just like, his weapon was in the sniper configuration. Just like snitch on his partner. Yeah, I guess he does, but like K2SO and Cassian Andor seem to be like best buds.
He finds it funny.
Yeah,
got a sick sense of humor.
Yeah, just an agent of chaos, K2SO. But
Disney Plus spin-off series.
It's K2SO, the agent of chaos.
I feel like K2SO's got to be in the Andor series.
Oh yeah, they're going to show where he got him from because he reprogrammed him.
Hell yeah!
Yeah,
that's one thing that made me like a bit more interested.
Yeah, because it seems like they've been on a few adventures, K2SO and Andor, like they're quite good companions.
Yeah,
like they're partners almost. So it'd be cool to see how that develops. But yeah, I've got a few notes here on like Chirrut Imwe and Saul Guerrero. We've sort of touched on most of those, but from a visual standpoint, got two things that I want to talk about in terms of visuals. Perhaps we'll go to Tarkin CGI first. To be honest, right, obviously, spoilers for The Mandalorian Season 2, but obviously we saw Luke Skywalker CGI'd.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we're in a unique position where we get to compare Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, and Tarkin, all CGI.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's left as Han Solo and Chewbacca. For whatever reason, they'll do Chewbacca that way.
Yes.
Chewbacca.
Can you imagine a CGI Chewbacca? Like it's
actually, there's one in. Wasn't he CGI in Revenge of the Sith?
Oh yes, that is true.
He was.
For a couple scenes he was. I think they did use a practical for some, but most of the time he was CG.
Oh yes. Oh, there was a CG everybody in the Revenge of the Sith.
The film was CG.
The film was an animated movie in disguise.
Yeah, best animated film to come out of Star Wars.
Revenge of the Sith.
So let's start with Tarkin then. To be honest, lads, I remember the CGI being a lot worse than it actually is.
I remember it just generally looking a lot worse than it did.
Yeah,
I think that in part has to do with also seeing Luke Skywalker as well, because Luke Skywalker, I mean, for a film show budget, they did a really good job, I reckoned.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Mandalorian, I'm pretty sure, has a bigger budget than like some of the Star Wars films do.
Yeah.
But they do have to stretch it out to like 7 hours of it, I think, nearly.
Fair.
6 or something.
Yeah, that's
it's a lot better than I remember it being. but that doesn't say that it's good.
Yeah.
Like his
Fair
eye,
enough.
I think most of it comes from his eyes. They just generally seem to have no depth to them.
Like he's a soulless man.
Yeah, which I mean, guess that's kind of what he is.
That's kind of what he is as a character, yeah, but sort of, yeah, I don't know. Jaden, what were your thoughts on the CGI, mate?
Yeah, it doesn't look good. Grand Moff Tarkin CGI should have never been a thing, to be honest.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I to be honest, lads, when the first time I watched this, I had no idea it was CGI. So that's how, you know, if it can be credited for anything, it fooled me. But to be honest, after seeing Luke Skywalker, and I think the Princess Leia one is quite worse as well, but
I mean, it's only for like 10
Tarkin,
seconds, not like 2 seconds.
yeah, exactly. And for the amount of screen time that he has, I was surprised watching this again how much screen time CGI Tarkin actually has. It's
Yeah.
actually incredible. So they definitely had to put a lot of work in. And, you know, with CGI characters, as soon as their mouth starts moving and they start doing expressions, you can tell straight away. But I feel like Tarkin does a lot better than anything else we've seen, you know. So, but, you know, it definitely has its flaws at some stages for sure. But I think the voice isn't the best as well. You can tell it's not his voice. So that was a bit of a problem too.
Everything
But
has the same sort of level of it. Snarky, I guess. I don't know how you explain it.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah. But it worked for me. Like it does. If you're going to put him in, maybe he had too much screen time, but
If he had less screen time and they could have focused a bit more on his lesser scenes, it probably would have looked nicer. But
yeah, because he's literally like a main character in this almost. Like he's got almost enough, as much screen time as Krennic himself. So yeah. But
he has more screen time than Jin's father, I believe.
Oh yeah. No.
Jeez. That's not good. That's not good for character building, because if you think like Jyn Erso is supposed to be our main character, we're supposed to connect with her and her backstory, and we're seeing more of an animated Tarkin than her father, who's Mads Mikkelsen, by the way, like a fantastic actor.
He did a really good job, I think.
James Bond, right?
Yeah, Casino Royale. Yeah, so Princess Leia CGI. What was our thoughts on that? For me, that's horrible. She doesn't look anywhere close to Princess Leia. She looks way too her cheeks are, I mean, I say this as a person who has chubby cheeks, so I can say, but she doesn't look like Carrie Fisher in A New Hope at all. Like Carrie Fisher lost considerable weight in the
that
day.
scene goes straight to A New Hope, which I did once. Like you notice the difference. Like there's such a big difference between them.
It's in the face. Yeah, her face is less full in A New Hope.
It's not going to be in her toes, is it?
No.
That's interesting you say that, because I honestly didn't really mind it. And it's probably because of the fact that it looks more human than Grand Moff Tarkin's.
Like, we're not looking at it for as long, which I guess helps.
If you're looking at it as just like a regular person, right, and you don't know who Princess Leia is in A New Hope, it looks
like a person,
but it doesn't look like Carrie Fisher. Yeah. Whereas I feel like Grand Moff Tarkin's CGI just doesn't look like a person whatsoever.
Just looks like a machine.
It doesn't look good. It's disturbingly horrific.
And a bit of a fun fact trivia. I think Carrie Fisher's daughter played Princess Leia.
She did have the face capture for it to help mold it a bit better. Yeah,
and then they digitally altered it. So
Carrie Fisher's daughter actually appears in a lot of the Star Wars films. She also appears in the sequels.
She's like one of the. She does a lot of stuff with Poe. Like she's like one of those rebels that does shit with Poe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So another thing that I noticed, right, and you guys probably won't even know what I'm talking about with this, but when we get beautiful shots, like beautiful landscape shots, right, of, you know, planets with the Star Destroyers above them. Those shots are incredible, right? Yeah. But then as soon as we get shots of like actual characters like on the planet, like there's one scene where Jyn and Cassian Andor are on Jeddah, and they're like perching on like perching on a ledge, like overlooking the landscape, and the camera is focused on those two characters, and literally the background has just been blurred out.
Oh,
And
really?
I'm like, I'm like, the landscape is beautiful. Why don't you just show it to us? But my answer for that probably would be, well, they
Money.
made this film in 2 years max. So, it's like the MCU films. They got to have such a short turnaround. You notice this with MCU films as well. They often blur the background to hide the poor CGI.
Yeah.
So that was a shame for me because at certain areas, this film is really beautiful and probably one of the best looking Star Wars films we've got. And it's just a shame we can't see the background. Like when we're focused on the characters, it just rubbed me the wrong way. But I don't know if you guys noticed that at all. Probably not.
No, I didn't really pick up on that at all, to be honest. But like you said, I think that some of the scenes in the film just looked amazing, especially the Star Destroyer over the top of Jeddah, and then it eventually just like takes off slowly. I think that looked great.
Yeah, and seeing the engines like fire up as it takes off.
Yeah, that was good. I mean, there's stuff like that where like you couldn't possibly do that for the prequels or the original trilogy. So that is the one benefit of Disney actually like buying Star Wars.
Like,
Is that now we get like
shot, you never would have been able to see that. They would never have been able to make that shot in the original trilogy without it looking like obviously fake. Like in the original trilogy, you never see a Star Destroyer in atmosphere or anything.
No,
Yeah.
you always see it in space, but never in comparison with landscapes.
Yeah. It's like because they got to like hang it. Because it's like a model and they got to like put it on a string.
It's a mini model. That's what they used in the original trilogy. Yeah.
Everything that flies. Same with the walkers and everything. They're all
models. The AT-AT walkers in Return of the Empire Strikes Back.
I don't know if you guys have seen this, but in the Empire Strikes Back, like behind the scenes footage, in like the concept art for the AT-ATs, originally they were going to be able to, they would have the ability to jump.
No.
What, can you imagine?
Yeah, it was like they're originally going to have the rebels dig big trenches that the walkers have to jump across. But then when they made the models,
can you imagine?
Stupid, so they decided not to.
It's like bouncing like a rabbit.
Yeah.
I can just imagine like George Lucas being really annoyed that they didn't reach like the final cut. Like, I really like that idea.
You can just imagine like people sitting down next to George Lucas in the theater watching Empire Strikes Back, and George Lucas just like, I really wanted them to jump, and everyone just like turns and looks at him like, what?
You directed this?
The man's a genius, but sometimes he has stupid ideas. He's like Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder sometimes gets things right, sometimes he gets them horribly wrong. Most of the time, horribly wrong for Zack Snyder, though, let's be real. Another visual sort of masterpiece, the Earth tsunami on Jeddah. How good did that look? That looked incredible.
Yeah, that looked really good.
And then obviously, like we get the Death Star shot at the very end of the film. We get something similar, but that Earth it was like an Earth tsunami.
Yeah, and then later you see all like the magma getting thrown up towards the Death Star. I was when I saw that, I was just thinking, shouldn't they back away from it?
Yeah, I was thinking that as well.
Should they not be that because they're really close, and they're testing the weapon as well. Shouldn't they be like a bit further away?
Yeah, probably. Tarkin's probably not that. He's not all there yet.
And when I first watched it, I didn't realize they said single reactor ignition. I thought I thought the Death Star just had one shot where it just goes boom, planet explode.
Yeah.
And I was like, I thought they like slowed down the Death Star, the planet exploding, so they could escape. I'm like, well, that's some bloody good plot armor.
Oh, I was thinking that as well because we see Alderaan get blown up
instantly
in A New Hope instantly.
Yeah, that's true.
And then we see Jedi getting blown up in the span of 5 minutes. I was like, hold up.
It's just like, and it's only that one area because it was like only a single reactor or whatever it's called.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, no, because I thought like it's the time frame that's a problem, because if say this film was set like a year before A New Hope, you could say, well, the Death Star wasn't fully operational, or they were still working on it. And that was the initial test, being like, oh my gosh, we can actually blow up a city. What about a whole planet?
Yeah.
And so you could say, like, that the Death Star was only, effective to a certain extent. And then in the next film, they've improved it, right? But because this is set like a day before A New Hope,
They're only
you can't
testing
say
it
that.
like a day before. And you know what? Let's blow up a planet.
Yeah, and it just goes like bang straight away.
Yeah.
Like it's just
They should like go up in tiers. Like, okay, let's try blowing up a small moon. But no, let's just blow up a whole planet.
yeah, fair enough. It's
Because,
just
firing a full reactor, like firing whatever they would call it, the full power of the Death Star probably couldn't have any flaws with it. Probably isn't like some issue. That's what Jin's dad should have done. Just made it so when it fires a full reactor, it blows itself up.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Because they clearly hadn't tested it before then, so they wouldn't know.
Yeah, I do like the fact that this film does like perfectly fill in like a bit of a plot hole for the original.
Why it had such a major flaw.
Yeah, and it's just however, like, it's a bit stupid considering, like, how did the Empire not learn their lesson with the second Death Star? Like, because don't they just do the exact same thing in Return of the Jedi? But yeah, that's the main sort of like downfall of Return of the Jedi. I think, like, people are like, oh look, there's another Death Star, and whatever. What do we think of the scene in the rain? I know we've all played Jedi Fallen Order, and there's quite a similar scene to that at the start of that video game. You know how there's a scene in the rain, and like an Empire person like lines up these innocent workers and like threatens to kill them all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if you
guys... It's actually really similar to that, isn't it?
Yeah, you recognize that parallel?
Yeah, I do.
Minus the mass genocide of everyone else.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, but I think that scene looked fantastic. Obviously, everything looks better in the rain. In films like Blade Runner, right? They would actually the original one, right? They would go onto the production set with hoses and just like wet everything. Because everything looks better wet. I don't like it. And Blade Runner, it's like constantly raining in the first one. But yeah, everything looks better when there's rain. And I think the scene where, we get to see, Galen Erso, and Jyn Erso see each other again, I think it's quite a good scene. But any thoughts on that, boys?
Yeah, I agree with you there. I do think that most films and TV shows and games do look better with rain, because I think it shows more detail, because in games you've got ray tracing, so you can see the same image reflected in, say, a puddle or a window, and it increases the size of the set. You see more, and it just adds more detail to it. So yeah, I think it just looks better overall if the scene is pouring down with rain.
Yeah. Any thoughts on that scene, Nick?
Yeah, like with the rain as well, it also adds a bit of a sort of feeling to the scene. Like if it was a bright sunny day, it wouldn't have the same impact as it being a sort of down dark rain everywhere.
Yeah,
everyone's wet. Everyone doesn't want to be there outside in the rain.
Yeah,
there's a lot more.
To it. It's an interesting point, because obviously we have the Battle of Scarif, right? And that's like supposed to be the most like dangerous, horrific battle we've seen in Star Wars so far. But it's set like on a nice tropical beach. It's like set in paradise. So yeah, interesting, because when I watched the Battle of Scarif, I'm like, damn, this is an awesome battle. But like, there's not really a dramatic like, can you remember, like, Jaden, when we watched Solo, there's like a scene in Solo where it looks like Han is like fighting in the World War. Yeah,
with the Imperial troopers when he was in the Empire.
Yeah, and that's so like dark, because it's literally dark. Like the scene is dark,
and there's like mud everywhere. Like that whole opening scene with that felt a lot like a World War I film, because it's just the design of the armor as well. It looked like World War I, like gas masks and everything.
Yeah,
that sort of feel to me, like with the mud and everything as well.
Maybe a missed opportunity there for the
Yeah.
Battle of Scarif to sort of make that a bit more, a bit more dramatic.
Yeah, one thing I do like with Scarif though is it's quite a unique setting.
Yeah.
We haven't had one like that. And also, as the battle progresses, there's a lot more, probably especially from the ground view, there's a lot more like smoke and stuff around, so you don't really see the blue sky as much. Especially once the Death Troopers drop in, it does
true.
give a bit more weight to the scene as
Yeah.
as the battle goes on.
Yeah, and I love the shot when the Death Star comes over the sun. That's so cool.
Oh,
On Jeddah, yeah, how the shadow
down on
eclipses the
Jeddah.
city. They have that shot from orbit above Jeddah, and you see its shadow just slowly eclipse over.
Yeah, the Death Star is like one of the best characters in this film. Like it's just like how imposing it is. It's done so well. Like because it's more iconic than probably Darth Vader. Like when you think of Star Wars, it's like Darth Vader and the Death Star. Like that's Star Wars.
that's Star Wars. Yeah.
Yeah. So Death Star gets its little cameo appearance in this. I'll be more
Death Star has
cameo,
better CGI than Moff Tarkin.
Yeah, fair enough. Something that I noticed, right? I have a bit of a problem with this in that rain scene, right? The Jyn Erso climbs onto the platform, right? And Cassian Andor sees this, and he's like, "Oh no, we have to call off the rebel fleet because they're going to blow us up, right?" And so they call the rebel base, and they're like, get them on the comms now. And the rebel base is like trying to get in contact with the X-wings. The general says to like one of his commanders, like, get in contact, like get them on the comms now. And the guy replies, "Oh, they're already engaged, sir." I'm like, what are you telling me?
Stop blowing too much stuff up.
Yeah, like he's like, "Oh, they're already engaged, so we can't talk to them." Like, are you joking? Like, have you not seen any of the other Star Wars movies?
Tell them to hold their fire, because it wasn't a while before a Y-wing came and bombed the bridge.
Yeah.
And also, why did none of them shoot the clearly like special like transport ship on the little landing pad, but they shot the hell out of everything else?
Plot armor. Yes. No, I thought that was just bizarre because like we've seen so many times like using the comms with X-wing pilots in battle, being like, watch your 6, Red Leader, and just like
giving them new orders, telling them to target certain things.
Yeah, and I don't know about you guys.
That above Scarif, they tell them to target. They tell the Hammerhead ship to push the Star Destroyer into the other one.
Yeah. I don't know about you guys, but if I was an X-wing pilot, about to risk my life, if my like general came on the comms and was like, "Oh, you can pull up now. You don't need to risk your life in this battle," I would have been like, "All right, sounds good."
Oh yeah, I'm done.
I wouldn't be like,
sure.
"Sir, I'm already engaged. I'm so focused right now. I can't move out of this path.
Let me die."
So I don't know. I thought it was pretty cheap, to be honest. Yeah. There's a section of dialogue between Mon Mothma and Bail Organa, and which references a Jedi, right? And so I just want to read out the dialogue for you guys, and you can try like piece together who it is, right? So Mon Mothma says, "Despite what others say, war is inevitable." Bail Organa says, "Yes, I agree. I must return to Alderaan to inform my people that there will be no peace. We will need every advantage." Mon Mothma says, "Your friend, the Jedi." Bail Organa says, "He served me well during the Clone Wars and has lived in hiding since the Emperor's purge. Yes, I will send for him." Mon Mothma says, "You will need someone you can trust." And Bail Organa says, "I would trust her with my life." So Bail Organa is referring to two separate people in that discussion, right? The Jedi he knew and someone who he can trust. Do you want to take a guess who those two people are, lads?
Well, I think it's pretty clear that it's Yoda. Oh, okay. I was going to say Yoda and Ahsoka, but
well, fair enough.
Yeah.
It's actually Obi-Wan and Princess Leia.
Nah.
No, because the someone is his adopted daughter, Princess Leia Organa, who was at the time leading the rebellion from her position as an Imperial senator. And going back to the dialogue itself, he's going to call on the person he trusts with his life to send for his friend, the Jedi. And obviously this lines up exactly with the hologram of Princess Leia asking for Obi-Wan's help in A New Hope. Credit to Pete on Quora for this, because I didn't do that. It was some other guy. I looked it up because I was like, I don't know who like, is it Ahsoka because he says her, and is it like, I don't know who it was, but apparently, I mean, it can be whoever you want, lads, but I think it makes sense to have Bail Organa tell Leia to search for Obi-Wan, because that's what happens in A New Hope.
It makes sense.
But yeah,
now
there was
that
a
you've
piece of
explained
dialogue.
it,
Yeah, there was a piece of dialogue that like I never really, never really comprehended the message of, because he like changes pronouns like halfway in between. He's like, I will send for him, and then he's like, I will trust her with my life. I'm like, what? Who are we talking about?
Yeah.
Like, he's talking about two separate people. But yes, I just wanted to let you guys know about that, because a bit of trivia for you, a bit of a reference. But
Okay.
Jaden, I know you have you wanted to tell me something yesterday about the Darth Vader scene. It was going to blow my mind. Do you want to tell us that?
Yeah. So we're a bit skipping forward, but I'll say it now before I forget. Right. So we see the final scene where Vader is essentially storming through a hall of rebel soldiers, and he basically traps all of them in this starting pod, right? And if you didn't actually know, Vader is actually holding the door shut. It's not the door jammed. Vader is force holding the door shut.
Oh.
Yeah, which makes like the scene like 10 times more scary, because you realize that while he's slaughtering all of these rebel soldiers, he is holding the door shut.
Yeah, I think it was a bit convenient with the door jam.
Yeah.
But that makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, poor rebel troopers. Some of them are like crawling away. Oh, such a horrific scene.
Yeah, he's just cutting off. Like one dude, he just lifts up to the roof and then cuts his gut open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a really cool scene.
You don't want to be in the hallway with a Skywalker, that's for sure.
No.
I want to get to that comparison a bit later on, but for now,
I had one of the rebel soldiers be like a little kid, and then he's just like, finally.
Just like, I've been waiting for this.
This is where the fun begins.
Just like, good times. This reminds me of a better time in my life.
Me and my youth.
Yes.
Where's Baby Yoda?
So let's go to Battle of Scarif then, sort of moving towards the end of the film. We'll go back a bit to Battle of Scarif, but thoughts on that battle. I think the battle actually starts like halfway through the movie, so a lot of the movie is the Battle of Scarif, but I think it's probably like one of the best battles in Star Wars history. I mean, it's definitely got to be up there.
It seems like it takes a lot from the Battle of Endor, like having the dynamic one half battles in space, half of it's on the planet.
Yeah.
And the shield generator too. The shield generator is quite a big plot point, because they got to bring down the shield generator in Endor in order to take on the Death Star. And then they got to do that here as well in Rogue One.
So they can send the bomb out, send the plans out.
Yeah, and I want to ask a question. I was like, where is Admiral Akbar? Is he safe? Is he all right?
It's funny you bring that up, because I read somewhere a long time ago that Admiral Raddus is actually Admiral Akbar's cousin.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair. And then Admiral Akbar got a promotion when Admiral Raddus got shot or died. I don't know how he died, but probably Vader stabbed him when he went to the bridge.
Oh, maybe he did. Oh, yeah.
Or a bunch of
I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. That's a bit horrifying. Yeah. Oh, dear. Poor Admiral Raddus. Rip. But, oh, well. At least Admiral Akbar's got a pay rise.
He's safe.
He is not safe. He is not all right. I think the space battle, so like all of the like the X-Wings and the bombers and stuff, like all of the air combat, I think is incredible. I think it's the best like Starfleet battle yet.
Yeah.
It's not overly complicated like Rise of Skywalker was, just full of a bunch of, hey, look, it's that ship from that random spin-off.
Yeah.
It's a lot more like, And they actually use clips, like deleted scenes and stuff from A New Hope, because you see a lot of the pilots they look at are actually the pilots from A New Hope.
Yeah.
You see the red leader and like the gold leader and all them.
You can tell as well. It looks like older footage.
Yeah, but then they've just
Remastered it.
And photoshopped Scarif in the background.
I think it was quite cool.
Where they needed it.
No, I love the shots where like sometimes the camera would be like mounted on the X-wing, like it was a GoPro.
Yeah.
And like we'd follow like one random X-wing for like 30 seconds, and it just looks so cool.
Yeah,
like
it just like flies past like turrets and through little gaps.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was a really cool moment, and on the ground, I think it's just as good as well, because obviously we have these characters that we sort of care about at the moment. They're sort of just being killed off left, right, and center, which is better than surviving, I guess. Kill them all. That works. Definitely, illustrates the whole sacrifice of the theme and the threat of the Empire. But was there any particular moment on the ground for you guys, like any sort of character death scene? And we've touched on them a bit, but any sort of standout scene in the Battle of Scarif that you want to talk about?
Like I said before, I think a lot of the character death scenes were probably handled a bit poorly. But we've already touched on Phase or whatever his name is. Oh God, I don't remember. Baze Mortis. Yeah, we've already touched on his. I think his was probably the best.
Yes. Nick, any favorite scene on Scarif?
I'd have to say seeing the ATACTs, the walkers. I love seeing them. Just how not Baze, Churro, how he could just hear them walking.
Yeah.
As they're like coming through the smoke. That's one thing I really like. And just seeing them, how the rebels just they just literally can't do anything against them. They just have to run.
Yeah.
And that just shows the power the Empire has with its vehicles. One criticism I have seen of that scene is the fact that the X-Wings can just tear apart those walkers. And it's like, well, why didn't they just do that in Hoth? That's actually because those walkers are cargo transports. They're not built for combat. Their armor is nowhere near as strong as the AT-ATs are. Those big orange things they have, that's cargo.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Like some of them don't have them as well. You can see in the scene.
Interesting.
That's cool. I like that, that little world building there, because you get to see like the evolution of the Empire throughout the original trilogy.
And then you've also got the U-wing shooting blue bolts, which is arc bolts, I believe.
Oh, okay.
And they were like actually they were like disabling the mechanisms of the legs, which caused them to break. Just a few little things like that I love to see, like little details
it's kind of cool when Star Wars acknowledges and dives into their sort of small sort of stuff, not the big stuff.
The small details. They could have just had normal red lasers and like, oh look, it's just targeting the legs, weak spot. But no, they're actually using something that's built for taking those out.
Yeah, no, that's.
And I love the addition of the U-wings as well, like some sort of troop transport. We've never really seen the Rebellion have something like that. They've always just stolen it from the Empire.
Yeah, that's a new ship, isn't it? Like that's a ship that was created in this movie. Yeah. And it's a welcome addition, to be honest.
Yeah, and it's been used a fair amount in other media as well, of the Rebel.
Okay.
Like other sort of, like we also see them in the new Squadrons as well. Star Wars Squadrons.
The video game.
And a few other things as well.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, no, Rogue One introduces like some things that have definitely been used elsewhere in Star Wars. Like we've seen the Shore Troopers in The Mandalorian, and we've also, I don't know if we've seen Death Troopers in The Mandalorian.
Yeah, we did in the last episode of season 1. Mando attacks a few Death Troopers.
Oh, yes,
actually
that's true.
Able to take him on. Just the fact they're not wearing Beskar, he's able to best them.
Ah, yes, yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, that is right. But yeah, just two new stormtroopers that have been used, throughout Star Wars media. So credit to Rogue One. It's created some iconic designs of ships and troopers.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've said Baze's death scene is my favorite because obviously he's like he doesn't like the Force. He thinks it's all a bit hocus pocus. And then when Chirrut dies, he has the whole like I'm one with the Force and the Force is with me moment
Mhm.
where he just like goes out and he just like guns down a few Death Troopers. And I like the fact that it's actually realistic. Like we see a lot of times, like especially in the sequels, like the protagonist will like run towards like 10 stormtroopers and like just gun them down without any like hesitation,
They'll all
and
miss,
like there's no what's that?
and all the troopers will miss.
Yes,
They're
yeah,
standing
yeah,
right in front of them.
yeah. But I like in this one where like he's obviously like quite talented with a gun. He's got like a he's got like a machine gun, so he's got
Yeah,
like a ton of
and he's
ammo.
able to draw. Like when the Death Troopers start charging out, he's able to draw quicker than they are most of the time.
Yeah, yeah. So he definitely takes down like a reasonable amount, but and then he dies,
Yeah,
which is like exactly how it should be. Like it's an awesome moment because he's gunning them down,
and then
but
he's
then like
getting
it
shot
has
in
an
his
end.
armor. Like
Yeah,
he's still taking hits, and it appears to hurt him. But the
yeah.
armor is stopping it completely.
Because he doesn't feel invincible. Nobody does in this film, and I like that. I like that there's an element of danger because they all do die quite quickly. But yeah, and then so because he guns him down, it's an awesome moment, and then like it's like he never was gonna take on the whole army by himself. Like that would be unrealistic. Like there's too many of them.
Mm.
There's too many of them. What are we going to do? But yeah, so I I I mean, the ending to this movie is when I talk about the ending, I talk about like the Death Star coming up and like blowing up Scarif, and then we see Jin and Cassian. I think that might be one of the best scenes in the film. But lads, what are your thoughts on the very end of the film? We see like Tarkin's been, I mean, not Tarkin, Krennic's been shot, and Cassian's been shot, but of course, like he's the main guy, so he lives. Um,
Well, he
Yeah,
doesn't.
for now, for now,
He gets shot in the gut, and he just decides to climb his way up the tower.
yeah, he gets shot. He falls like 10 meters, hits a metal like
Yeah,
floor, and then like just decides to come back, like just climb all the way back up. But but yeah, any specific moments like in there you want to talk about, lads?
I think the death scene with Cassian and Jyn Erso was done quite well. You don't really see that a lot in Star Wars, right? Most of the deaths are pretty significant, and you see them die. But in this scene, it's kind of like um, it's not left up for interpretation. I would say it's more so less gruesome, right? You don't
yeah.
see it happen.
It's a big flash
Yeah,
of light, which
Yeah,
what you would see if you have that amount of power coming towards you.
yeah.
And then
yeah,
obviously there's no way they're getting out of that.
yeah, and I like that. I mean, they could have tried to steal a ship, but I like the fact that they were just like, that's probably not going to work, so we
I
might
mean,
as well just
one of
like,
them could barely walk, so
yeah, true, yeah. I guess Jyn Erso wasn't going to like leave Cassian behind. It's like, all right, you're not going to make it, mate. Sorry.
you
See you
chill here on the
later.
beach. I'm gonna go steal a ship.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't know if you guys noticed this, but Krennic, like at this time, Krennic is on the top of the tower, and when the Death Star shoots, it like the light bolt like skims the top of the tower, so the
And
tower gets
yeah,
like
hits right where he was.
like gets blown up, and so we never see Krennic like actually die, but like obviously he does die, but we don't actually like see it on screen. And I think it would have been cool to see Krennic like comprehend the fact that the Death Star is gonna kill him because he probably. I mean, he sees the Death Star,
It's
but
just
we don't.
pointing directly at him. I like that shot.
Yeah,
It points up and it's just the big dish is just straight at him.
yeah, yeah. I feel like it would have been cooler to see a bit more of like I spent my whole life to build. Like I spent my whole career like building this weapon, and now it's gonna kill me.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that would have been a cool moment to see him like comprehend that. But runtime, I guess.
Yeah.
And I really like the scene where Jin and Cassian are on the beach and they're like hugging each other. They could have kissed, but they didn't, and I appreciate that
Yeah, it's
because
not like
Disney.
because that would have felt extremely forced. Like
Yeah,
they don't know each
yeah,
other that well, but
yeah,
they
yeah.
have
So that was
something
good.
for a bit together.
Yeah, and I like the fact that as the light approaches, we see Cassian and he like opens his eyes at the last minute because like he's anticipating, like you can imagine, like it would just be so terrifying, like knowing that your end is like coming,
Yeah.
and he's like got his eyes closed, but then he like opens them up like just at the second, and you can see his eyes. It's just incredible. So I really enjoyed that. It's like a little thing that makes the scene so much better. The fact that he like can't keep his eyes closed,
Yeah.
he's that terrified. It's pretty awesome. Darth Vader hallway scene. We've touched on it a bit, but I mean, who did it better, lads? Luke or Vader, or even Darth Maul in the Clone Wars finale? Who did it better?
Vader.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Vader. That's fair. I mean, you can imagine like if Luke was mowing down like stormtroopers like that, you'd be like, "Whoa, Luke Skywalker! I thought you were supposed to be the good guy. Like, what's
you're like, oh
like?"
god, he's damn, that's dark.
Yeah, yeah. It was like just like murdering like actual people, but because Luke Skywalker's murdering droids, it's okay.
I wish we got a
Um,
similar scene like that with Anakin in the temple
that would have been
Mm,
with the
cool.
kids.
I think we will eventually get it though.
Yeah, like we could see a
Flashback, maybe.
flashback from Grogu, and then we'll see Anakin, like
Ooh,
whoever's
yeah,
saving him. Then you see Anakin just cutting through a bunch of Jedi as they're trying to get Grogu out.
Yeah.
That'd be an interesting thing.
that would be cool. Just like little baby Yoda, like waddling off, and you
Like
just see
someone's
like,
like because they haven't yet revealed who saved him, so they could have it could be a Jedi who saved him, grabs him, and a bunch of his other Jedi friends are with him. They're trying to get to a ship. Then Anakin shows up, and then they've got 501st as well. That would be interesting to see that in like a modern, I guess a more modern Star Wars, like seeing the Jedi Temple,
Yeah.
like actually seeing
that
it
would be cool.
inside and seeing the Jedi fighting off the troopers.
That would be cool. That would be an awesome flashback scene to have. But yeah, I think Vader's scene is probably like one of the best scenes in this movie, and it's sort of hard to say that because it's. I mean, while Vader is sort of like a side character in this, and he does have sort of a part to play, and it makes sense that he's in the film because if he wasn't, we'd be like, where the hell is Darth Vader? Why doesn't he care that people are trying to blow up the Death
Yeah.
Star?
Yeah.
Um, so it makes sense for him to be there. So to me, it obviously is a bit fan servicey, but it makes sense enough for me to
Yeah,
like let it go.
cool, and it's awesome as well. So
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's so cool. I mean, I was making the trailer for Instagram, and I was like, damn, this is such a good scene.
Yeah.
Like you could watch it over and over again. Just the fear on the rebels trooper faces, like, and I love the shot where it's the dark corridor, right, and you hear Vader's breathing, and you think that Vader's like quite a bit away, and then he ignites his lightsaber, and he's like much closer than you think he was,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh crap, he's gonna get them.
I like how slow his lightsaber ignites. Like it feels
Mm.
slower than every other lightsaber, but oh god, it just looks.
like you notice that in the original trilogy, I noticed that like when Luke ignites his, it's real quick,
Yeah.
but then Vader it comes out really slow.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's interesting. Yeah, and Obi-Wan's in A New Hope, Obi-Wan's is quite slow as well. So yeah, maybe it's just like it's probably just something that they changed in the original trilogy because Luke has to quickly ignite his lightsaber sometimes because like Darth Vader sneaks up on him, and you know so something that they changed. But this film sits at about 2 hours and 6 minutes on the runtime from like the time it actually begins and ends, like not counting the credits. So it's actually like quite a short Star Wars movie, but I feel like the first half definitely drags on a bit. Like you sort of just want to get to the Battle of Scarif as soon as you can. But I don't know what you guys thought about that. Like, did you get bored at any stage in the film?
Not really, to be honest. I definitely feel like the film picked up in the later half of the movie, got more exciting.
Hmm.
I just wanted to touch on this real quickly. When the rebels are like trying to transfer the plans to the Tantive, I think it is called, not the Tantive 4, the Tantive. Um, one of the rebel soldier who actually like pulls the lever down to transfer the plans. I think he's actually the director of the film, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Oh.
so a little cool cameo there.
Yeah, cool. No, I love the fact that like the rebel troopers who are actually like on the ship that's safe, like they're on the ship that's been detached, right? But they keep running anyway.
Yeah,
It's just they're really scared, and they really do a good job of portraying that. They're just like they don't care if they're on the safe ship; they're getting away from that door as much as
Vader's
possible.
just that terrifying. Like the amount
Vader's
of
just
fear
like
that
stuck
he.
himself outside the door. He's just
Yeah.
hanging on.
Yeah, he's just like Vader's just like jumped onto the door in space. Because we see Vader's like standing on the edge of space, so his helmet must be some sort of like space suit.
and we have wind in space.
Yeah, his cape's flying.
You could say that's yeah.
Yeah, it's like the moon landing.
It looks cool though, so we ignore it.
It looks cool. It's like, you know, Into the Spider-Verse when Spider-Man Noir, he comes down and is like they're in the spider cave or whatever, and his
Yeah,
cape's
yeah,
moving.
Yeah.
And
It's
he's
just
like,
weird.
where's the wind coming from? Like, wherever I go, the wind follows. But yeah, so anything else, boys, that you want to touch on? Maybe like any notes that you want to quickly add in before we head to the music segment?
Not really.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty good.
All right, so music segment. So every week we sort of we chuck a maximum of two or a minimum of one song from the official soundtrack into a Spotify playlist called the Rewatch playlist. And so this week I went through the official soundtrack and I put in the Imperial Suite because I know, Jaden, you're a big fan of that one.
Hell yeah.
Oh yes, that's the I guess the newer in the revamp of the Imperial theme that what's his name made it. It's sort of like a bit more.
Yeah, John Williams. It's sort of like using John Williams' score, and then
They sampled it, yeah.
Yeah, Michael G's given like a bit of a spin on it. So it's sort of like saying, "Can I copy your homework but change a little bit?" So, yeah, but it's good nonetheless. And I wanted to find the song that contains the music when the title screen comes up, because it's only like 20 seconds max, but that 20 seconds is really good. I encourage you guys to listen to it because it's the song that comes up. It's like the main theme essentially. Like it comes into the big Rebels Force theme or whatever, and so I chucked that song in there. It's called A Long Ride Ahead because it just plays at the very start of the film.
Yeah.
So you have to go to the very end of the song to hear it, but it's a very, very nice theme, right? And it's obviously got the elements of John Williams there, but it's got just enough new stuff to differentiate it a bit. So I enjoyed that. Overall, I think the music's good. No sort of standouts. No, Anakin's deeds or whatever, and no Duel of the Fates or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it's good. Yeah. And Nick, your thoughts on the music overall? Did you enjoy the music at all? Like, do you think it stands up against some of the other Star Wars films?
I think the music it's very distinct and unique. It has its own sort of style, while still keeping in the realm of Star Wars and John Williams' overall feel.
It's kind of what Ludwig Göransson does with The Mandalorian. It feels Star Wars, but it's different.
Yeah, it's got its own sort of twist to it.
Yeah.
It's much better than the Rise of Skywalker soundtrack, which I'm pretty sure didn't have a real single unique.
Yeah,
it was all just composures of previous work.
Yeah,
and nothing.
Well, that's good. Yeah, they were banking on that nostalgia to get you through the
they
2.5
played the
hours.
Imperial March in the credits.
Oh well, they tried their best to try and get us back, but to varying effects. All right, let's go to some final thoughts then. Who'd like to go first? Giving sort of like their final thoughts of the film and then their tier rating.
You go on, Nick.
Oh god damn it! The film is generally one of my preferred Star Wars films. It has a few things that hold it back. More so like the few bits of fan service that do annoy me a bit.
Yep.
I think that's for the most part handled very well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the visuals are great. I do enjoy most of the characters in the film, except for the pilot. I think he's a bit useless.
Yeah, he's a bit
He just
boring.
pops up
Yeah.
and he's just there.
That's a good point.
Other than that, I think the film it's fairly strong from beginning to end with a little bit of a slow start, but overall, I think the film's pretty good on the rewatch. I do like it.
Yeah. So if you could give it like a grade rating, what would you do? You're the teacher. Give it a grade. Make it feel bad.
I'd have to say an A-.
Okay.
That's fair. All right, Jaden, you next up?
Yeah. Overall, I think this is a pretty good film, and I like how it slots in, like exactly with Revenge of the Sith and then A New Hope. It just kind of finds its place in between them. I think it's great to have a story with a character who's from the Empire turned rebel. Like I said before, it's different. And I actually really like the characters in this film. I felt like they all kind of had their unique, distinct sort of feel about them. And I do think that K2SO, Director Krennic, and Chirrut were probably standouts for me. Overall, I really enjoyed most of the things in the film and the story about it. I mean, you can't really go wrong because it's essentially the original trilogy extended. Like I said before, I think that some of the death scenes were insignificant, or rather lacking significance, and that certain characters like the pilot probably could have used more screen time. And then you have Saul Guerrero as well, who was also kind of underused. So I'm going to rate this film a B+, but it's definitely my favorite Disney Star Wars movie thus far.
Yeah. Hard to argue with the fact that it's the best Disney Star Wars film.
Yeah.
I think Nick would definitely agree with that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So it's definitely, stand out, the best from Disney, on the big screen anyway that we've got so far. But yeah, for me, I've written like the main theme of this film, right, is supposed to be sacrifice, right? And in this film, like Disney sort of, they promised to give us a Star Wars film with the emphasis on the war part, right? But then they decided to employ the director of Godzilla to do that. So, questionable hiring practices there. But while the film, I think it does perfectly demonstrate like the sacrifice involved in retrieving the Death Star plans. I think the first hour of this movie, like jumping from planet to planet at like such a fast rate, and it sort of like fails to really get us connected with the characters. And it's sort of the problem, the fact that there are so many characters. It's like a Suicide Squad problem. It's like there's so many of them that it's hard to get connected to each of them. But
Yeah.
I think the second half of the film is where it really shines. I think the second half is really, really good, and I think the film is visually stunning, and seems afraid though to show you everything at once with the whole blurring of the various backgrounds, and that's something that I noticed. But the music's good, nothing special though, and the characters are good, but again, nothing special. I mean, I'd say Director Krennic's my favourite. I think he's probably one of the best new character villains from Disney so far. I don't know what you guys would think about that. Do you think Krennic's the best villain so far in Star Wars?
I think Krennic is quite good, but I think Kylo works more because he has quite a bit more intimidation and he has a lot more involvement with the main characters.
Yeah.
And I think he's the best character that Disney has brought so far.
That's a fair point.
Because it has part to do with he has 3 films of development.
Yeah. Fair. Also great performance by Adam Driver as well.
Yeah, he's probably one of the things I actually like about Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. His whole arc because I feel like his arc to an extent is a bit better than Vader's original arc, not including Anakin and all that.
Yeah.
Okay.
His whole redemption arc, you actually see the worst stuff that Kylo did in the trilogy.
Yeah.
He killed his father. He's done all sorts of stuff. He's burnt down Luke's temple. He's done. You see all the stuff that he's done, and yet he can still redeem himself from it. It sort of pushes the idea that you're pretty much no matter what you've done, you're can still redeem yourself.
Yeah.
Unless you're Hitler.
Damn, I've never heard such a good argument about the sequels before.
Sam, like, seen a new light. Maybe I should watch The Rise of Skywalker again.
No.
Just watch clips of Kylo. That's all you need to watch.
Good.
Yeah, fair enough.
Turn to the dark side.
Yes. But Jaden, would you think that Kylo's better than Krennic, or who's your favorite Disney Star Wars villain?
Probably Snoke, to be honest.
up until
Let me
the
rephrase
Last
that.
Jedi, anyway.
Let me rephrase that. The Force Awakens Snoke, I think, was really, really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in terms of Kylo over Krennic, I think they're pretty even. I don't know. It was just something about Snoke in Episode 1. There was so many theories around him. Is he Mace Windu?
Yeah, I think that's why
Is he Mace Windu?
Yeah.
people resonate with him so much.
Yeah, no, I quite liked his character. He felt very menacing in a way.
I do like his death scene. That's one thing I like in The Last Jedi as well.
Yeah, that was
How
definitely
Kylo's able to
my
manipulate him into thinking that he's going to kill Rey, and then he's his true enemy. Like, I like that line because it shows that he's what he's thinking. He knows he's manipulating Snoke into believing that
you
he's
see
his
him
true enemy.
essentially turn from the dark side to the light side in that moment.
And then back to the dark.
Yeah.
Because his ideology is still stuck with him.
Oh, maybe we should have Nick back for The Last Jedi, because I feel it would be good to have like an honorable person, like actually like talk about like the small parts of the movie that are actually good.
The film has a lot of good in it, but then it has a lot more
bad.
Yeah, Casino.
Casino. PTSD flashbacks. Anyway,
is it okay if I do come back for that rewatch? Is it okay if I can skip that scene? Or do I have to watch?
You can skip that. I think we're all going to skip that.
Oh gosh!
I think that's fine. I think we need to watch it. We have to endure it.
Oh yes, no. Oh, I don't want to do it. All right. Anyway, regardless, back to Rogue One. So I think the main purpose of this film was to fill that plot hole in A New Hope, and like, why is the Death Star got this one major weakness? And I feel like the film does quite a good job at filling that plot hole. And look, the fact that this film is by far the best Disney Star Wars film is quite sad, I think. However, I think Rogue One is certainly like a glimmer of hope moving forward for Disney films, right? Obviously, we've seen like Disney TV shows have been pretty good. Like Mandalorian's been pretty good.
The end of Rebels was pretty good.
Oh yeah, I still need to watch Rebels, but
get around
but
to
yeah, I should. But Rogue One is a glimmer of hope. But yeah, I gave Revenge of the Sith a B. I think this is probably better than Revenge of the Sith, but not by much. I'm going to give it a B plus as well. So I'll give it a B plus. I feel like it has been decreased by the amount of times I've watched the film though, because I just get bored with the characters. Because I'm like, there's nothing interesting here, but like behind the characters themselves.
Gets to the point where it's just, look at all these visuals and action and Vader.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I mean, and that's the whole thing with reviewing movies. Like every time you watch a movie, you have a different sort of perspective and take on it.
Yeah.
So there's a whole thing about rewatching movies, really. Like I think the more you watch something, the more you pick up like the
flaws.
The small flaws. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I'm happy to leave that there for today. It was cool chatting with you boys. Obviously, we're all Star Wars fans, and I think nobody really had anything that was particularly disgraceful about this movie. So there was no tension or debate at any stage. So perhaps, I don't know. But I think it's because we're all reasonable men. We all have reasonable opinions. We're not idiots like those Last Jedi loving folk. But regardless. So I think it was cool to sit around the Jedi Council and have a civilized chat about this film, and it was cool to have you on, Nick. So thank you for coming on. Love to have you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, love to have you back for another Star Wars film, because obviously, like, you contributed like a ton of like little nuggets of information that I just totally had no idea about regarding Clone Wars.
Sometimes I just like to browse YouTube and watch like that sort of stuff, like behind the scenes. But I love behind the scenes things.
Yeah.
I even watched The Last Jedi one, and that one was actually interesting.
Whoa. You don't go there.
Better than the movie.
I just love the fact that now, whenever I watch Empire Strikes Back, I'm going to be thinking, imagine if those AT-ATs were jumping, like
like galloping.
Yeah, that's crazy. That'd be funny. But yeah, we'll leave it there for today. Thank you for listening, everybody, to this episode of the Rewatch podcast. This episode is going to release on Christmas, and an ordinary person might say, "Well, why didn't you do a Christmas
I was
movie
going to say that.
on Christmas?"
You should have had it top like things that would be like at least it'd be somewhat like it, like what was it? Empire Strikes Back, because that's like half in the snow.
True.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
What were we thinking, Sam?
Well, there are things more important than Christmas, and one of those things is Star Wars. So Star Wars goes on. Star Wars goes on.
We should have done the holiday special.
Oh,
yeah, probably. Oh well. But regardless, to you boys, I hope you have a Merry Christmas when this comes out. I hope you are currently having a good Christmas. And to all of our lovely viewers, if you're watching this on Christmas Day, go spend time with your family and come back tomorrow.
Why are you listening to this? Family. What are you doing?
Nick, don't attack our viewers, mate.
I've only got a few.
Yes.
Bring me back because your viewership will drop too much.
Yeah.
No, but I hope everyone has had or is having a very Merry Christmas. I hope you enjoyed us chatting about one of the best Star Wars movies out there. And thank you for listening. If you'd like to subscribe to the YouTube channel, just search The Rewatch on YouTube. Next episode, right? It's going to be next week, right? Knowing that Wonder Woman 1984 is going to come out, I imagine we might do an episode on Wonder Woman 84.
Yeah.
But it depends on the situation with the cinemas. But, regardless, we have to wait and see. We'll announce it on Instagram regardless. But thank you for listening, everyone. Thanks for Nick again for coming on. Thanks for Jaden for being here again and waking up early to come and speak with us.
You're welcome.
But that's all from us. Bye for now.
Yeah.